Hi, welcome to the show Birthing Naturally with Dr. Mahima Bakshi. Today, I have a great expert with me who comes with an expertise of so many years and especially with the background of AIMS Delhi. I have with me Dr. Anju Virmani, who's a consultant endocrinologist trained at AIMS Delhi and has been in practice since 1994. She is also on panel with Rainbow Children's Hospital, New Delhi. Ma'am, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mahima.
Ma'am, please tell our audience something about yourself also.
Thanks. I did my MBBS, MD, and DNB in endocrinology, as you said, from the AIMS, which we now have to specify. It's the Delhi one. Endocrinology and diabetes basically deals with all the hormonal problems.
Mm-hmm.
So this has become a crying need of the hour because there are so many endocrine problems that we have created for ourselves,
Right.
and which we can only solve by our own efforts. So
Absolutely.
it's something that we need to be well aware of so that we can minimize the damage to our own bodies.
So, ma'am, tell us something about why diabetes in pregnancy is so important.
Well, you know that the blood sugar travels to every part of the body, and that means that it's also traveling to the placenta and to the baby. And obviously it affects the baby. Now the first 3 months are very important because that's when you have a single cell which is going to form into an embryo and then the baby. So if there is diabetes before even the pregnancy starts, that's when it causes the most havoc, the first 3 months of formation. And so any woman who is sexually active and therefore at risk or is planning a pregnancy, she should get her blood sugars done fasting and 2 hours after breakfast at least once a year to know whether she's diabetic or not.
So, this is about the pre-pregnancy state.
Yes.
And suppose during pregnancy somebody has been diagnosed with gestational diabetes, then how can she specially take care in handling that situation?
Yes. As I said already, if there is diabetes before pregnancy, then the baby's formation can be affected, and it could be congenital malformations affecting different parts of the baby's body. It could be the brain, the limbs, the heart, the intestine, the spinal cord. So that's if it is pre-existing. If the pregnancy, if the diabetes develops during pregnancy. So if the diabetes develops during pregnancy, then the baby can get affected because it becomes much larger, and this can cause problems during delivery. After delivery, for example, the blood sugars can dip, causing hypoglycemia. The serum calcium or the magnesium can dip. Because the lungs tend to be relatively immature, even for the gestational age, there could be breathing difficulties. And so the child may have convulsions, may have respiratory distress, a whole bunch of problems. And all of these are unnecessary because if the diabetes is well controlled, all of these are eminently preventable.
So, ma'am, can gestational diabetes be prevented?
Eminently. Gestational diabetes can be prevented, and diabetes can be well controlled during pregnancy because prevention really is the key. And the way to prevent it is mainly by lifestyle measures. So if one eats sensibly and exercises regularly, then you can get a very good response. The key issue really is consistency. So you go to the gym for 3 hours 2 days and then you don't go for another month, or you eat sensibly or go on a very strict diet for about a month and then you chuck it all and you binge. So feast and famine cycles are devastating for the body, and the body hates it. But if you're consistent, then it works wonders.
So consistency is what you need to specially remember in pregnancy,
Absolutely.
in terms of the overall active lifestyle.
Absolutely.
So, ma'am, what active lifestyle measures can a pregnant woman follow?
A woman planning a pregnancy or already pregnant should make sure that she's exercising every day. So what we like to do is about an hour every day. So if there's lockdown, you can walk inside the house, walk just outside the house, dance, cycle, whatever. And if you find that it's very difficult to exercise for an hour at a time because you're not used to it, maybe 15 times, 4 times a day would still add up to an hour and make a big difference to the body. Of course, if you do very little exercise, so if you're going to do 5 minutes 12 times, that's probably not as effective as consistent 60 minutes or 15 to 20 minutes 3 to 4 times a day, and that should take care of it. When it comes to the diet, that's something that practically everybody has their own opinions about. But one thing I can tell you that the COVID has proved to us effectively is that nobody has died of a restaurant deficiency. Nobody has suffered because they couldn't eat out. And people are discovering the joys of cooking at home and eating at home. But do make sure that your husband helps you in the kitchen. Don't expect to do all the work yourself. And if you have a child already, get the child into the kitchen. Because even illiterate people need to eat. So the child must know how to eat and also cook sensibly. And what are the tips I would give you for cooking and eating sensibly? Use whole grains. So dalia, atta, brown rice, jowar, bajra, ragi are much better than maida and biscuits and noodles and all the things made of maida and white rice. Similarly, whole dals are better than washed dals, though they may give you a little gas, which you can always walk off. When you exercise, the gas gets expelled. Protein is important, particularly for the Indian diet. There should be protein in each meal. So if you're vegetarian, it's dals and milk products. And of course, if you're non-vegetarian, then there's eggs and chicken and fish and meat. Red meat is not a crime in small amounts. Please do go ahead and have small amounts of red meat. There should be fiber in each meal, so fruits and vegetables. A lot of people think that mangoes are a crime for a diabetic. No, eat fruits in small portions and lots of green vegetables, and try and get all the 5 colors of food every day, and try as far as possible to make them at home. No matter how bad you are, you won't be as bad as a restaurant when it comes to added colors and preservatives and what have you.
So I think not just about improving your own lifestyle, but this will also help you to engage your baby in a healthy lifestyle and healthy eating right from the beginning.
Absolutely. And get your husband straightened out a little bit also.
Yeah,
no
so
harm
involve
done.
the partners too.
Yes.
So ma'am, how can we test for it?
The most reliable test is still the oldest test, which is the fasting and the PP, the 2 hours after breakfast sugars. And often a question that is asked is when. So as I said earlier, do the test once a year if you're not pregnant. As soon as you suspect a pregnancy, you missed your period, you're not quite sure, it may not be a bad idea to do a fasting and a PP blood sugar.
Interesting.
If you go to your gynecologist, most gynecologists today will get a blood sugar done at first encounter, and almost certainly about the 20th week they will ask you to do a blood sugar, whether it's been done before or not. So it does make sense for you to check your sugars periodically. When it comes to diagnosis, the finger prick is not accurate enough.
Okay.
So if you the finger prick will give you an approximation. So if your sugar is 90 or 105, the prick may not pick up the difference. The HbA1c is often talked about. That has its own utility because it tells you the past 8 to 10 weeks of sugars. It also has its limitations. Your physician may choose to get an A1C done, or the physician may ask for a 75 grams glucose challenge. So you do a fasting, take 75 grams of glucose and then do a blood sugar. So that really depends on what the background is and where you're coming from. Do talk to your physician and your gynecologist about this, and be mentally prepared to get your sugars checked.
So be prepared that your sugars must be checked as soon as you know that you are pregnant, or even when you're continuing with the pregnancy around 20 weeks. 20 between 20 and 22 weeks. So ma'am, how do we treat it?
Well, during pregnancy, you will appreciate that most doctors don't like giving medicines. So the 2 safe medicines that we use during pregnancy are metformin, it's a tablet, and injection, which is insulin. Many women will resist injections, but this is well worth it. The needles are almost painless and the sugar control is very safely achieved.
Hmm.
But of course, you don't want low sugars.
Mhm.
So it's very important that whatever medication your doctor prescribes to you, do a lot of testing, fasting, and PP. Most of us will ask for a 6 sugar profile, that is before and after breakfast, before and after lunch, before and after dinner, to make sure you're not going high, you're not going low.
Okay.
The normal sugars during pregnancy are much lower.
Okay.
So your targets will actually be different, say, from somebody else in the house who has diabetes. We will expect much lower sugars, and we would actually be quite happy with a sugar of 70 or 80,
Okay.
whereas this would be considered on the lower side for anybody who's
Correct.
not pregnant.
Hmm.
And as I said, don't resist the pricks. But do remember that insulin makes you gain weight, so your dose of insulin should be as low as possible.
Okay.
And all the things that I've just talked about for prevention, which is eating sensibly, making sure that your cooking fat is not very high, making sure that the fiber is very high, exercise a lot, so you may want to walk before breakfast and 2 hours after breakfast, walk
Right.
before lunch and after lunch.
Right.
All those make a huge difference in reducing the dose of your medicines so that you're at the safest possible for the baby.
Right. So stay active, stay fit, and do not hesitate in taking your medications if you've been diagnosed with gestational diabetes. So, ma'am, what precautions can a pregnant woman follow during this COVID pandemic?
Well, I think we can go back to life as our great grandmothers lived them and take all the precautions that they normally would, which is social closeness but physical distancing.
Correct.
So you don't eat together, that's when the aerosol spread the most. You try and keep a certain distance from people by wearing the masks and making sure that the hands are washed, so basic rules of hygiene. Making sure that you're not very close to each other, that's when the aerosol spreads. I think we'll have to delete this overlapping bit. Should sit back.
Let's do it again,
Sorry,
हाँ.
I'm talking rubbish.
आप आंसर स्टार्ट कर दो, क्वेश्चन तो मेरा था ही.
ठीक है. So, how does COVID affect us? COVID is now spreading far and wide. It will spread even more as we aim for herd immunity, and it's best to say, fine, I've got a low grade infection or an asymptomatic infection, I'm over and done with, and that's where the world would get to within a few months or a little longer. The fact remains that if we keep our viral load low, then either the infection doesn't happen or happens in such a mild manner that it doesn't affect us adversely. And for that, we need the masks, we need the hand washing, we need the physical distancing. So in a sense, handling COVID would be like going back to our great grandmother's era. All the precautions that we were taught or our mothers were taught as children is something we need to implement for ourselves. We were told, wash your hands when you enter the house, wash your feet when you enter the house, wash your face. Keep your hands clean by washing them frequently. खाना खाया तो हाथ धोया, खाने से पहले हाथ धोया. You want to wash your hands before you handle food, after you handle food, before you go to the toilet, after you go to the toilet. So frequent hand washing was something that we did automatically without thinking about it, because we were in a hot tropical climate, and that's what we need to do again. We need to make sure that we exercise regularly. So the mask is very useful when you're going out. Keep the mask on, but you can go for a long walk, because this mental implications of being closed up are very devastating. And as unlock starts, but don't talk to people on the way. Wave at them from a distance, maybe talk to them on the phone, but don't talk to them face to face. Don't touch metal objects, so don't lean against a car when you're going for a walk. Walk briskly, come back, or maybe get more exercise done at home if you find that it's not a problem. Do maintain good immunity and good health by looking after yourself in general, and that would also help you cope up with the coronavirus, and for that matter with a whole bunch of other bugs that we live with day in and day out, that if our immunity is good, we would tend to do much better. I think what we need to remember is that social distancing should be broken up into social closeness and physical distancing. Get a lot of exercise done, but don't forget the arms and the upper body when you're walking. Do enjoy yourself with home cooked and self cooked food with lots of color in it and with lots of taste in it. Do remember to give yourself little treats once in a while. Having a little piece of chocolate or a tiny mithai will not kill you as long as you're careful about it. And most of all, if you are already pregnant, enjoy your pregnancy, because you hold the future within you.
Lovely, ma'am. That was really great information for our viewers, and thank you so much for sparing out time for this, ma'am. It was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much, ma'am.
I enjoyed this, and I hope that we will get more successful pregnancies and happier pregnancies as a result of it.
Yes, so stay fit and stay healthy in pregnancy.
And let's go back to our traditions. Namaste to you, Mahima, to all of us, and I hope that we can enjoy a much happier and a much healthier pregnancy because of today's session.
Thank you.